Why hello there, the walrusclown here. Today I'll be delving into the second and final installment of the Lost Kingdom series for the GameCube. There will be a link to part 1 in the description and a card in the corner. Let's get this train rolling. Otter, roll the title sequence! Part 1. The Technicals and Gameplay. The gameplay is similar but not identical to the last game. First of all, they switched from a random encounter system to each level being a small sandbox and you can use cards at any time. Second, there's a new element, that being mech-type monsters, who are like neutral monsters, only more defensive and slow. And most importantly, for the more exploration-focused sandbox level design, transformation cards that can turn you into a monster. Another thing of note is that they took away the Z-button capture method and replaced it with a dedicated capture card that can only be used once. And the jackass you buy them from keeps jacking up the price every time you buy one. And the Z button is now used to do combo moves between specific cards. Part 2. The Story. Before we get into this, we need some backstory that I could have mentioned last time, but I'm putting in the backstory here because it relates to both games. The gods of creation and destruction were at war with one another several centuries before the first game. And the reason they were asleep and their power divided amongst 5 runestones apiece is because their sister, the god of harmony, literally killed herself to do so because they were going to destroy everything, and the wall of light that separates the continents was born of her soul so that they could never go to war again. Then, 200 years in the future from the events of the last game, you play as the thief Terra Grimface. The Kandari from the last game have found a way to mass-produce runestones, and now their king is trying to pull off the ever-overused M. Bison plot. Then, after many adventures with the Band of the Scorpion who took you in as a child, your childhood friend Soul helps you reclaim your memories, and it turns out the reason the Queen hasn't used the Crown's most powerful cards, like the one containing the God of Destruction, to put an end to their insurrection, is because you have the one true runestone that can control the god-tier monsters. And it turns out that you and her are twin sisters, and the royal court decided to drop you in the boonies as a small child while your mother, the queen, was on her deathbed, and pretend that you didn't exist so there would be no infighting for the crown. But knowing you probably wouldn't survive otherwise, she gave you the true runestone so that you could protect yourself. And it turns out that both the magic crystals that made the Kandari rich and their ability to make less powerful runestones comes from the fact that the God of Harmony's body was buried underneath the mountain that the mines were in, and after finding it, it woke up without its soul, and the mass-produced runestones are in fact made from human souls. After the Kandari lose control of the god's body and it starts killing everyone left, right, and center to make runestones, it's up to you to kill the god of harmony's body for good. For those of you in the cheap seats, this is a game where sci-fantasy version of Samus Aran uses a Millennium item to summon monsters from Magic the Gathering cards to re-kill the undead zombified corpse of a dead pagan god.
That is totally metal.
Part 3. Things that I should have mentioned last time, but still apply to this game. Subsection A. The Banshee card. The Banshee is the best card in both games. It's not the most powerful, but in terms of the attack power, range, and magic cost, all taken into account, it is the best. You could have 5 transformation cards to handle overworld obstacles and 25 Banshee cards and be just fine. Part 4. Things that I should have mentioned last time but still apply to this game. Subsection B. The awesome soundtrack. The musical score in this game is amazing. It's classical, purely instrumental, and is one of my favorite game soundtracks of all time. Here, take a quick listen to the Rule of Force music for a moment. Part 5. That pooping without your phone bridge 2.0. I know that having the player revisit areas from the last game in the series is a good way to show how much has changed in-universe if there's a time skip. But did we really need to revisit the poopy diapers bridge? And they made it worse somehow. The puzzle in the middle of the bridge is a nightmare. You need like 5 trap monsters just to do the damn thing. And so you don't do this, there's a chest in the middle of the bridge. Do not open it. There is a lowly hobgoblin inside it, and you will permanently lose out on getting a much better card. After you get a flying transformation card, come back and do another puzzle, and a cage on an island out in the water will open, and you will get a lucky lion card, which makes grinding for experience to get all the cards much easier. Trust me. Part 6. The Arena. One of the things to get 100% completion is to go through the arena. You have to beat masterclass monsters of each element. Then the King of Kandari one last time. Then Helena and the Enchanter from the last game. Then you finally duel against Katia herself. Do this and the game will ask you if you are willing to take on Katia's responsibility. If you have a save file for the first game on your GameCube save card, then you can transfer all of your cards from the last game. This is a nice, easy way to get both the Doppelganger and the Golden Goose card, the latter of whom is a pain in the ass to get otherwise. Part 7. The Proving Grounds. There is an after-game segment called the Proving Grounds that takes about an hour to finish. There are rare cards that can only be found here, including the second hardest card to get after the Golden Goose, the Emperor card. Whom's card you can obtain by using the capture card on him in the final level. This is quite the task, and if you want every card in the game, you will need to do this dungeon multiple times. Getting the Emperor is a time sink, and catching him is a pain in the rump, but it's doable, and your good old Uncle Walrus is going to let you crib off his notes. Here's how. First, you are going to need 2 Rebus cards, 1 Golden Phoenix card, 2 capture cards, and about 13 Banshee cards. Yes, 13 of them. First, you need to take advantage of a cheap game mechanics exploit by summoning the 2 Rebus cards so that they're touching, and summon the Phoenix on top of them. This will create a feedback loop where the 2 Rebuses perpetually heal each other and the Phoenix, who takes damage instead of you while out. Then you blast the Emperor with a 13 Banshees. This should lower his health to capture him, but have an extra capture card just in case the RNG gods are not favoring you that day. Part 8. That game theory I mentioned in the last review. In this game, Gerd from the last game makes an appearance. She is alive 200 years later despite being super old in the last game. And you can clearly see runestones all over her body in both games, despite the fact that were only 5 runestones on the continent in the first game and the Kandari couldn't mass produce them yet. I think that when the God of Harmony's body and soul split, her soul condescended into human form and has been using the guise of an old woman named Gerd to guide humanity in the right direction, using a light touch instead of basically being a dictator who used humanity like playthings like her siblings did. But hey, that's just a theory. A game theory! Matt, please don't sue me. Part 9. Getting the good ending. So getting the good ending where Soul gets to live is quite a task, but not undoable, and can be the funnest part of the game when you know what you're doing. And you will need to have done all of the following before you do the second Alondra Castle level. There is a cult that worships a god whom we never get to know, and presumably would have been the catalyst for the story of the third game that we are never going to get, unfortunately. Each member has their own runestone that their souls will be sucked into, and you beat them. Then you collect all the runestones and place them in the pedestals in the Hellscape room found in Ismat Uber. Then go to the back room where you will find a necklace. Have this necklace with you during the God of Harmony's rampage at Alondra, and you will hand it to Soul during the cutscene. This will seal his soul into his body and thus stop the God of Harmony from turning his soul into a runestone. Part 10. The Red Fairies. Like the last game, you need to collect 100 red fairies for Alexander's descendant, Jarvie. Unlike the last game, there is no online guide as to where they are. There are a few attempting to list how many there are in each level, but they are all inconsistent. This is a fool's errand, and if you're wondering why this took so long for me to make, trying to 100% this game, trying to find all the stupid red fairies is why. There is no reason to do this. There are no cards that he gives you that you can't get by either evolving another card or transferring your old cards from your old save file. Do not attempt to do it.
And I pity the fool named Gerard when it's his turn to try and pull off this here pipe dream.
Part 11. The 2 secret levels. There are 2 secret levels, that being the Temple of Shiraka and the Obelix Gorge. After you get to the Grenfold Chapel level, go to the library and read the back shelf, and the Temple of Shiraka will appear on the map. Then, to unlock the Obelix Gorge level, you need to go back to Holzart Town after you get to the Grenfold Chapel. And there'll be some random NPC that wasn't there before. Talk to him and he'll tell you about the level, thus unlocking it. In the Temple of Shiraka level, make your way to the back and then decide whether to help either the Valkyrie or the Ajra claim the level as their realm. The one you choose to help will give you their card to call them for help. I recommend picking the Valkyrie because of 3 reasons. A, she's more powerful. B, Ajra is easier to obtain outside the level, just upgrade a Jade Giant card, and C, she's essential for my 100% effective strategy to beat the final boss. And if you don't get her here, you can't until the Proving Grounds. In the Obelix Gorge level, you make your way to the back, and you will see a ship. Then beat the Thanos boss monster on that ship, and the ship vanishes and turns into the Phantom Ship card, which is a really powerful water elemental summons monster that is totally worth having. Part 12. Tips and Tricks. This time I need to give you more than how to get the Golden Goose card, although getting it without transferring it from your save file from the last game will be here. Anywho, let's start with beating the God of Harmony zombified body during the first encounter with her, which, given the Let's Players that I've seen, seems to be a thing that people have trouble with. This is where card combinations come in handy despite how otherwise unnecessary they really are. By this point in the game, you should have at least 2 sets of Elemental Lizard Men. That being the Lizard Man card, the Red Lizard Man card, the Basilisk card, and the Venom Lizard card. Use 2 Lizard Men combos on her. Then use a Stormhagen's B attack. And have a Stone Golem transformation card ready to go just in case the RNG gods are not in your favor that day. And you've won the first encounter with the God of Harmony. Then there is the other big fight that I see a lot of Let's Players having a hard time with. The final battle with the God of Harmony. This is, in reality, the easiest fight in the game when you know what you are doing. Like the giant Taurus before her, she has a spot where if you are next to her, her attacks can't hit you. Just use the White Tiger Sacred Light move, then spam the Cerberus's Fireball attack until the transformation ends. Then hit her with Valkyrie's Meteor Mash, and finish her up with the Green Dragon's B attack. And there you should have her down unless you're unlucky, but her health should be lowered enough to kill her with the Lizard Man by that point. Then there is the stupid Golden Goose card. This gets needlessly complicated, and you are going to need the following: the Golden Butterfly card, the Running Bird card, at least 1 capture card, and a second GameCube memory card with a Lost Kingdoms 2 save file on it. In the 2-player mode, and yes, there is a 2-player mode that is so poorly balanced that there is no point in playing it. Anywho, in 2-player mode, go to the Ruldil Forest Battleground and pray to the RNG gods that the Golden Goose shows up. Then use the Golden Butterfly Running Bird combo to freeze time, weaken the goose, and throw the capture card. Part 13. The Wrap-Up. In the end, Lost Kingdoms 2 was a vast improvement to the game that preceded it. It is one of my personal favorites, and both games are hidden gems in the GameCube's library. And it is a shame neither sold very well, because a return to the world of Lost Kingdoms in a 3rd installment would be a very welcome one. Or, barring that, a spiritual successor with similar card-based combat system would be nice. Anywho, bear anything catching my attention that's worth reviewing more, we will return to the world of animation with a look at rock and roll. I'm the Walrus Clown, signing out. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Anywho, see you next time.